Hi there. We are on day 51 of our Through the New Testament in a Year. Today we are doing Mark chapter 2, the whole chapter for once. Remember, Jesus has 4 followers, 4 apostles now, okay? Andrew, Simon, which will be known as Peter, and James and John, the sons of Zebedee. And he's become so popular that he can no longer go into town. He has to stay out of town and people come out to him because he gets mobbed. Okay, Jesus heals a paralytic. And when he returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home, and many were gathered together, so that there was no more room, not even at the door. Okay? And he was preaching the word to them, and they came, bringing him a paralytic, carried by 4 men. And when they could not get near him because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him. And when they had made an opening, they let down the bed of the paralytic on which the paralytic lay. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Ooh. Now some of the scribes were sitting there questioning in their hearts, "Why does this man speak like that? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Mm-hmm. And immediately Jesus, perceiving in his spirit that they thus questioned within themselves, he said, "Why do you question these things in your hearts? Which is easier, to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Rise, take up your bed and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," he said to the paralytic, "I say to you, rise, pick up your bed and go home." And he rose and immediately picked up his bed and went out before them all, so that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, "We never saw anything like this." An important part about this to realize is it wasn't the paralytic's faith that healed him, okay? It was the faith of his friends that knew he could be healed. His 4 friends that lowered him down. Who you hang out with is very important. Sometimes you can rely on the faith of your friends. Okay? Good object lesson there. Jesus calls Levi. Okay, here we're going to call Matthew now. He went out again beside the sea, and all the crowd was coming to him, and he was teaching them. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. Just like that. And as he reclined at the table in his house, okay, in Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners were reclining with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. And the scribes of the Pharisees, when they saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, said to his disciple, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And when Jesus heard it, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners." Got that? I always love that. Those who are well don't need a doctor. Mm-hmm. A question about fasting. Now, John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. John the Baptist. And people came and said to him, "Why do John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" I like this part too. Jesus said to them, "Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast in that day." He only has 5 apostles, and he already knows what's going to happen to him. It will be like 3 years from now. Right? No one sews a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. If he does, the patch tears away from it, and the new from the old, and a worse tear is made. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the wine will burst the skins. If the wine is destroyed, and so are the skins. But new wine is for fresh wineskins. Right? Metaphors, don't you love that? Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath. One Sabbath, he was walking through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. And the Pharisees are saying to them, "Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need and was hungry, he and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest, and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priest to eat, and also gave it to those who were with him? And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath," right? They can do what they want. Jesus. That's amazing. So There you go. That's Mark chapter 2. Lots of good messages in there, huh? Right. Now, David, when he was traveling with his companions, they were starving. And one of the soldiers that were with him, they went into the church and ate the bread that was on there. That's a sacred bread. It was only for the priests. Right? Did he get in trouble? No. Right? They were starving. And they were doing God's work. Right? Well, I like that. Sabbath was not made for man. All right. Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath. Right? Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath. Okay? And he healed people on the Sabbath. He worked on the Sabbath. Okay? They didn't like that. So there you go. That's Mark 2. And then we'll do half of Mark 3 tomorrow. Okay? More healings. And the 12 apostles. Okay? He's going to appoint them. Now, by this time, okay, there were probably, okay, now we know there was, when they had to choose a new disciple after Judas was taken out, they chose between 125 men who were with Jesus since he was baptized, and he was already baptized. So we know there are at least 125 men, probably more, right, hanging around him now. So among those men, he will choose his 12 disciples. He handpicked 5 of them, okay? Andrew, Simon or Peter, right? James, John, and Matthew. So, and the other ones will get chosen as well. And I had to think he knew what Judas would do when he chose him, okay? He knew the whole story before anything happened. He'd already talked about it. You know, the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and then they will fast. Right? And that's at the very beginning, just months into his ministry. So there you go. It's Mark 2. It's cool. Tomorrow we'll start Mark 3. It's getting good now, right? I always love the story of Jesus. So there you go. Another short study. These are short studies because we're doing the New Testament in a year. And they're stretching it out, so it'll take the entire year. So when we get into some of the other books and the epistles and stuff, there will be a lot more deep dives into the stuff, but this is a story of Jesus and it's pretty plain. So lots of miracles. Oh, cool stuff. So there you go. Give us a like if you think about it, but I'd catch up on any you may have missed, and we'll continue tomorrow. See you then.